Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.
Hey, guys. Good morning.
What's happening?
How's everybody doing today? Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, welcome back, guys. Another episode of Coffee with Closers Live. I believe this is episode number 30. Gavin, can you believe that it's been 30 weeks since we've been doing this?
It's crazy.
Time flies. Man,
Yeah.
It is crazy how time flies. Don is actually on a flight today going to do some masterminding so he can make all of us better investors. But we have a special guest today, a friend, a legend, a real estate genius, my friend Brent Bowers. Welcome, Brent. How the hell are you, my friend?
You know, I'm just wondering if I can get on here every week because not too often am I called genius or legend in one sentence, let alone more than once in my lifetime, honestly. So I just feel great already. I'm pumped up. Screw coffee. I don't even need coffee. I just need an introduction like that.
That's exactly right, man. Well, Brent, we're really happy to have you. Super grateful to have you on the show, and happy that you're, able to share an hour of your day with us, man. We really appreciate it. We're gonna do everything in our power to respect your time. So this is typically an hour long. It's a live show, and we really encourage the audience interaction. So throughout the show, the audience should and will be adding, questions and comments. We're gonna be sharing those as we go. But today, I really just wanted to talk about, what Brent Bowers has been doing and how it works. And I know you're a land investor with the Land Sharks. And man, you're just doing some really crazy stuff. I'm always so interested to hear about land investing, because that's one thing that I really haven't done. I've done a ton of stuff, and I know Gavin has as well, but land is like, man, it's like super new. So fill us in. What exactly does the land investment look like, and how does it work?
Well, I mean, it's super simple, and really it's not new. Genesis 1, God finished creating land on like the second day. So they're not making any more of it. The old saying is still true. There's actually less and less of it, if you ask me, because people are building so many houses and apartments and, asphalt. And I mean, I just keep it really simple. I buy land at a discount and I sell it for a profit, and I prefer to sell it via seller financing. So how do I do that is, I generally try and get a down payment big enough to pay for my purchase price so I get my money back out of it. That doesn't happen all the time. So I have to accumulate cash, and I can do that with lending partners or equity partners or banks, or I could flip a bunch of land or wholesale, assign the contract, and then purchase it with that money. So if there's really nothing, crazy out of the ordinary with it, I'm just buying land at a discount and I'm turning around and selling it to people, and I'm making it easy and affordable for them. So that's allowing me to basically have a waiting list of people that want to buy it. So I'm offering the commodity, which is land, as well as the easy financing. Buy here, pay here, really.
Man, I love that approach of owner financing it out, because that's creating passive income. It's creating a long-term stream. That is awesome.
I have a question on that, because I know people watching us are going to be thinking this, like, oh, I don't have money though to buy land. Okay?
Yeah.
So
Great question.
What do we do? What do we do if we don't have the money?
Yeah. You want me to answer it right now?
Yeah. Well, the reason that I asked that, let me just add, because obviously we can wholesale land, right? So we acquire it just like a house. We put it under contract. We have an equitable interest, and obviously you should always have the ability to close on the property. Period. By obviously hard money or private money. In my experience with land, sometimes it is a longer process, right? Of getting a buyer. Obviously, you've got your buyers actually ready to buy, so that's a little different, because obviously you're more seasoned. But I'm looking at the new investor that has nothing,
just starting out.
That's starting out. So I guess I have a multiple question here as we go through this. But at what point, if someone is starting off, should we be trying to wholesale land, to cash buyers, or should we be looking at trying to build private money and take them down?
Yeah.
How do you bridge into that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just assume everyone started out just like me, no time and no money, which is terrible because usually if you have a lot of time, you probably don't have any money. And if you have a lot of money, you usually don't have any time. But I didn't have either. I was an Army officer when I was starting out, just had a brand new baby, just moved across the country. And I basically started by mailing a postcard, just a simple little postcard, a handwritten postcard to the tax delinquent list. And I just basically I sent it to the list of people that were behind on their taxes for their lands, and my phone exploded. And out of those calls, I was able to return about 20 of those calls. I really received about 85 calls because I didn't have time to return them. But I picked out a few people that I was able to get on the phone, and it was really like really low dollar land. It wasn't buildable. It wasn't accessible. And honestly, they gave me like stupid, ridiculous prices. The first one was $285. And I didn't really have to search too far for that much money. But I had no clue what it was worth, and I knew it wasn't buildable.
And this is the first one you bought as
That was
as
the
a piece
first
of land.
one.
$285. You got to tell me about this.
Yeah, and no one believes that you can buy land for $285, but this was not buildable land. You know, it wasn't accessible. So it was really like an inefficient parcel. No real estate agent was going to touch it. But why? Like, it was worth something to somebody. So I went and looked at it, and then I called a real estate
And this
agent.
is local to where you were at the time.
It was about an hour and a half drive for me.
And which was where?
I was in Colorado Springs at the time.
Okay, got it. So you were marketing in the beginning in the area with the goal in mind of being able to hopefully go view this land or property, right? You weren't marketing across the country at this point?
No, because I had no clue what I was doing. I was
I
was really building it as I go. And I promise, Gavin, I will answer that question. How to find
I was just laughing.
I may not
laughing. The only reason I laughed was because I was like, you know, imagine turning up to look at land. I mean, it's just land, right? So I was like, how do you turn up and look at land and go, yeah, it's land.
Yeah,
nothing to look at, you know? That's why I was laughing in my head.
Yeah, and the address was Zero Lake Road, and I got super excited because Zero Lake Avenue. I got super excited because I was like, oh my God, Lake Avenue is right down the street.
Yeah,
and no, it was like an hour and a half away because I got the grid coordinates and plugged it in Google Maps, and then I didn't it was on my phone. So one trick is don't turn your phone off because you might go to an area. Don't turn Google Maps off because you might go to an area that there's no cell phone service.
Yeah.
And you're screwed. And you got to turn around and find service again. So I drive to this land, have no clue what it's worth. My wife's there, newborn baby's with me, and we're leaving. And there's a real estate office. And I'm like, they probably know. So I told the sweet kind lady, answers on a Saturday. I tell her all about the land. I've got it under contract. I'm about to buy it. I want to know what her 30-day blowout price is. What can you sell it for? Because I don't like $285. That was
how big of a piece
of
of land, by the way? Is this like a 30-foot by 30-foot piece of land, or is this an acre? Or
it was actually 2 buildable lots. So they were both 5,000 square foot.
Okay, so that's pretty decent size.
Yeah, if someone ever figures the reason why it wasn't buildable is because you had to go over a railroad track, and Palmer Lake, the city of Palmer Lake, wouldn't allow it. So the fire marshal will not allow you to build because only one way in and one way out for those firefighters.
And if there's a train,
yeah,
you're screwed.
There you go. That too.
So it wasn't buildable, or they were buildable?
It was not buildable at the time because there's no road across the railroad tracks. There's only one ingress and one egress. So the firefighters can get pinned down. So long story short, the realtor's like, maybe 10 grand. And I'm like, you're kidding me. Like 10 grand for a piece of land. So I hung up with her, thanked her for her time. She called me back within 5 minutes and offered me 5 grand. And I was like, let's do the deal. So
wait. Say this again. You went into the real estate. This is crazy. You went into the real estate office and you said, give me your blowout price.
No, I didn't even go in. I just called her.
Oh, you just called her.
Yeah. I drove by it, and I was trying to speed through the story to answer Gavin's question, where to find money to buy land.
Hey, we're good. We got an hour, bro.
We got some time.
You do your thing. You do your thing.
I was strapping on the jetpacks because I hate when I ask a question and I got to wait 20 minutes for the answer. But there's a reason for it. I promise. So yeah, she calls me back, says, hey, is it okay if I make an offer on the land? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, what are you offering? She said, $5,000. I said, when can you close? She said, Wednesday. I was like, 4 days from now? She said, yes, 4 days from now, Wednesday, I'll buy the land from you. I was like, great. So I said, send me the contract. I hung up with her, called the seller. I said, I'm going to meet you on Tuesday and give you the $285 check. Is that okay? He said, yeah. Retired CPA, not a care in the world, just chill. And so we met on Tuesday evening.
And did you guys not go to a title company?
No, I didn't do title search. I got a quick claim deed. I made all the mistakes in the book.
Okay.
But I trusted the guy. Like, and everything he told me was legit. Like,
Sure. It sounded like it was legit. So you were like, yeah, what can go wrong?
So I pay the seller on Tuesday night, $285. He hands me a quick claim deed that he had signed by a notary at his bank, and which I don't allow people to do that anymore because bankers have killed more deals for me because they're like, $285 for land? Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
So they killed my deals. So I now send the mobile notary. I control the process.
Yep.
So I bring the deed to the title company that evening. They stayed late for me, which I could have just scanned it, I guess, which was weird. But anyhow, Wednesday morning, I pick up my check for $5,000. That realtor closed it through a title company, got title insurance policy. They opened the policy basically with her contract. So I went from spending $285 that night, the next day getting $5,000 back. And then I did a second one the next week. $500 was the purchase price. And that time I found someone on Craigslist that could give me $500 down and $400 a month. So I created passive income on the second one. So that's what allowed me to start building my cash. And then the third one was actually from a bank. It's crazy. It was a 44 acres. They gave me the contract for $25,000. I didn't have $25,000. I was freaking out. I got the property under contract on a Friday night. Saturday morning, I took the advice of Tom Kroll. He said, if you ever have something you need at wholesale, go out and put 33 bandit signs. So I did 44 acres, 44 acres, phone number, 38K. I had it under contract for 25. So that was a quick $13,000 assignment fee. Before I could finish
from the bandit signs.
Yeah.
Holy cow, I love it.
The land was worth almost $100,000 though. I got it under contract for like 25 cents on the dollar.
Right.
So that's how I found the money. And before I finally put out the 33rd sign, I had someone that called me and said, you won't, like, where are you at? Because I was getting a little nervous because someone had called about 5 minutes prior yelling at me saying, get your damn sign off my property. So I thought it was another one of those calls, but the guy's like, where are you at? I was like, putting signs out. He goes, me and my wife been driving around for 2 weeks looking for some land to buy because we just sold our ranch in Texas. And these signs are popping up all over the place. Where are you at? And I was like, let's just meet at the land.
Yeah.
So we met at the land. We shook hands, agreed on the price. He didn't even haggle with me. The next day, I got a higher cash offer for like $15,000 higher. And I called that Texan. I said, I know we shook hands, but would you like to? I got a higher offer. It was $15,000 over what we shook hands on. Would you like to split that $15,000 with me? I know we shook hands. He goes, no, I want the land. So I just kept cash flowing. And before I knew it, I had like $40,000 in the bank account. And then I started purchasing land to seller finance.
Man, what a cool story.
That's awesome.
Holy
So
cow. So this
how
all
many
started just with
pieces now?
postcards? Go ahead, Gavin.
I was just going to say, how many pieces do you have right now?
I have 114 of them paying me payments right now. In inventory, you know,
and you own them all. Do you own them all free and clear?
Everyone except for 3 of them. That was a subdivide deal that went a little sideways on me. I needed to get $40,000 each down for 3 of those parcels. And the first one was 40, the second one was 20, the third one was like 13. So I still have a loan on those.
Yeah, but that's not bad though, especially if it's cash flowing. Who cares?
Oh, it's 12. They're flowing about $1,300 a month.
Yeah, that's massive. Holy cow. So I have a lot of rental units and I have to deal with a lot of tenants and I have to deal with a lot of toilets. You don't have to deal with either of those, do you?
I once bought a piece of land that had an old toilet on it, but I don't know if
It's definitely. Brent, do you do any houses at all, or you just land? Like you just stay in your lane?
So I got a dirty little secret. I do like houses because I'm fascinated with taking a dirty old turd and turning it into like the Taj Mahal. So I do. We have a house flipping company. We also do buy those dirty old rentals because you cannot depreciate land. So I need tax write-off. So we take land.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, we take land profits and we buy. I really am into like buying rentals to save myself taxes at the end of the year with cost segregation. And I'm a partner on a 19-unit apartment complex that we found with a cold call, by the way.
Nice.
And then I have my office building, things like that. So we take land profits and put them into other cash flowing assets that we can depreciate.
Man, that's so cool. That's so crazy. So I always forget that you can't depreciate the land. It's just the buildings, the fixtures that are on the land. I always forget that.
Yeah,
what a pro tip.
Apparently land always goes up in value, which it does if you look at the trends and whatnot. So it doesn't go down, but buildings do, carpets and refrigerators do. So you can really rapid depreciate things. So if you I'm no CPA, call my CPA if you want to, that's explained. I don't understand it, but you can take like $150,000 tax bill and go out and buy a couple or one building and literally like eliminate that.
Yeah, it's I barely pay taxes. I pay them, but I barely pay them just because of all the depreciation that we have. And just like you said, we can basically just roll what we would have to pay to the government over into another project and so on and so forth. So I'm sure someday it's going to catch up. But
if you never sell it,
if you never sell it, right. And that's the cool thing. But you're also using money that you would have had to have given to the government and had to have paid taxes to create more wealth. And it's a great way to snowball. It's definitely not a get rich quick game being a landlord. But if you are consistent and you don't, throw in the towel, it's pretty much like a get rich for sure game. And the coolest part is because somebody else is paying this property off for you, and you get to use leverage in order to purchase it. So there's definitely so many advantages. But I am fascinated with this whole land thing. So you have created passive income. And I think the coolest part is you are typically getting what you pay for the property as the down payment. That's the cool, that to me is like mind blowing.
I don't really do that as much anymore, but in the beginning I had to because I didn't have just funds sitting around.
Yeah. So now you have a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah. Now I'm like now granted the down payment needs to be a lot bigger than the monthly payment, or we're just asking for a default.
Yeah. That's a great point. Yeah.
But I just at the end of the day, we'll work with people because I want the cash flow coming in, because if I don't sell it, I might have HOA fees, tax fees, or maybe I borrowed the money, or you never know, because it's a negative asset until it starts bringing money in. Then it's actually a liability.
It's a liability, right? It's a speculation essentially because you don't have anything on it to really rent. I mean, I guess there's certain scenarios where it could be farmland and you could maybe have a neighbor that farms, share crop. I mean, there's probably a lot of different scenarios there. But typically when you sell them on owner financing, you're using a title company or a closing attorney, right?
It depends. It depends. If a realtor brings me the buyer, then we'll go through a title company. And generally I like to way bigger down payment for that because I'm going to transfer the deed to them now. So my only, security instrument is the deed of trust and the promissory note that the title company does for me. Now, if someone's coming in and doing $2,500 down or somewhere less than $5,000, we're going to have them come to our office, or we're going to close over the phone. Basically, we're just going to give them a contract for deed, basically saying, when you pay this loan off, we're going to transfer the deed for you. And I've done 30-year mortgages on some of these, or 30-year contract for deeds.
So when you do that contract for deed, you remain the owner on the tax records, right?
Exactly.
And the taxes come to you.
Yes. Yep.
So then do you negotiate in with the buyer for them to pay those taxes, or is that included in the payment? Or I mean, I guess there's probably a couple different scenarios here.
We include it in the payment. So if taxes are,
you basically make them escrow.
Exactly.
How awesome is that?
Yeah, if the taxes are $1,200 a year, they add another $100 a month to that payment. because as soon as we get it, my office manager will pay it. I prefer with Amex so we can get Sky Miles, but just another tip. So we'll do that. We also charge a note service fee because, you got to pay the bookkeepers to keep track of all this stuff. We also do a doc fee because someone's got to write up that 6-page contract for deed as well. Mm-hmm. So you can add your extra fees in there as well. And it really increases the bottom line.
Wow. Interesting. Very cool. So you had mentioned 30-year mortgages on some of these.
Yeah.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I have
what you got, Kevin?
I have a question.
We'll let Kevin ask a question from time to time, Brent.
He does. He allows me in sometimes if I'm good, if I'm well behaved. Price points. Do you stick to a certain when you're teaching it, or you personally, your business, you're like, look, we're not going to go over 80,000 or 200 or like.
That's a great question. That's a great question.
Yeah, I generally try and stay somewhere under $80,000 retail. That doesn't mean I'm paying $80,000. I like that price point. I really do. Now I've done the $285 ones. I've done the $80,000 ones. So if I'm buying a piece of land that let's just keep it super simple. 90,000. It's worth 90,000. If I'm going to buy it from you, Gavin, and I'm going to turn around and seller finance it to David, if it's worth 90,000, I'm going to try and pay you around 30,000, Gavin. That way I have a 3x return. It's kind of, and I didn't make that up. That came from Warren Buffett. That's his margin of safety, basically. So if all fails, like if there's like a environmental issue, I at least only paid 33 cents on the dollar for that piece of land that I thought was worth 90. And that has saved my butt so much, having that margin of safety. In the beginning when I wasn't running title, policies and checking all the liens, and did the seller buy it via treasurer deed in the cloud? The title is clouded. So generally, I want to be under 90.
So you're always 90 is kind of the top ARV. You want to be a third of that. So if it's 60, you always want to be coming in at a third as your offer to keep it simple.
Yep, 20,000 if it's 60.
60. Yep. Okay.
So a third, basically. That's awesome. Exactly. And then how are you valuing the land? How do you determine if it's worth 80 or 90 or 100 or whatever? Because it's just land, right? Like how do you comp it?
Well, I wish I could say I just pray there's a real estate office close by every time, but
that's helpful, I'm sure.
So there's so many ways. My preferred method is I just go to Redfin and I look apple to apple comparison. So if I'm looking at a 2-acre parcel in Atlanta, Georgia, I want to see something that's 2 acres in Atlanta, Georgia, within a mile or two that's sold in the last 3 months. Now, I remember I said apple to apple. So some people will try and take a half acre and say, all right, well, I'm looking at 1 acre. Well, this half acre sold for 50,000. So that makes my 1 acre worth 100,000. Not how it works. It's not apple to apple comparison. That half acre might have, utilities running to it, like water and sewer and all that stuff. So we call those infill buildable lots compared to that 1 acre rural land, which is going for way less than the buildable lot. So Redfin, Zillow, calling a realtor, there's so many ways to kind of just see the comparables.
I love it. I love it. Don't overcomplicate it. That's how I interpreted that answer.
Yeah.
Right. Some people would say, oh, I can go and do this and this and this and this. He's like, I got 2 or 3 things that I do basically every time. Don't overthink it. Keep it simple.
Yep. 100%. I think that we've already got so many little quick takeaways, right? Is try and stay under 90,000 as your ARV. Take a third of whatever your offer is to give you a ballpark, right? And I mean, you're set up then to make money, aren't you? Like you just are. And someone's always going to be looking. I think the beauty with land, from what I know, and I'm no specialist on it by any means, but I guess like there's land and there's land, right? That's sometimes how I say it. What I mean by that is there's land in the middle of Colorado, as you said, your first one that's literally just someone's going to go and ride a dirt bike around on, right? Or stick an RV on and they want to be near no one. And then you got land in terms of in a subdivision that's like a parcel of land that you're going to actually build a house and develop and things like that. So do you analyze, I guess, again, we've got multiple questions here, but do you analyze them differently?
Yeah.
And do you have a price point different as well?
Yeah, so that land you mentioned, the ride the dirt bike around or the ATV or camp on, that's like my bread and butter. I love that stuff. And, some land investors only buy that, or some land investors only buy infill buildable lots and they wholesale them. They assign the contract. Or they flip them, which that's really not an investor. If you ask me, they're like dealers. They're just not. I mean, same thing with what I do with seller financing. Really, we're considered dealers. We're not really investors because we're not sitting on it and waiting. But that's a whole nother conversation.
It's sales and marketing again, isn't it? It's just like us with wholesale. We're not investors. We're investors because it sounds good, but we're not. Dave's an investor. We're investors because we hold things. But if we're not flipping or we're not holding anything, we're in sales and marketing.
When I'm investing, I'm taking my land payments and buying that office building or the 19 unit because we don't ever plan to sell that. That's an investment. So that recreational RV lot, those are so much easier to analyze to see what they're worth because there's other ones out there. You can find them on LandWatch or Zillow or Redfin or call the realtor. One of those avenues is going to get you there. And that's another reason why for that whole, I try and get the massive discount. Like I try and get it for as little as possible because it also gives me such a margin of safety or a buffer, for God forbid I was totally wrong. And the land, I thought it was worth 90. Really, it's only worth 30, but I paid 30 for it, right? So I really didn't overpay for it. I just paid what it was worth. That buildable lot, those are a little different. And generally, I'm not seller financing those. I'm getting them under contract for, say, 50, 60 cents on the dollar, and we'll either assign that contract to a builder or, one of those we buy houses guys that's tired of chasing after the dirty, stinky cat pee houses, and they're tired of renovating them, and they want to build it from the ground up like a spec home builder. I sold so many of those lots, and I thought they were two different types of buyers. I thought there was house buyers, and I thought there were land buyers. And I was wholesaling houses and land at the same time, but I had two separate lists. And one of my cash buyers one day was on Craigslist. He goes, "Brent, why didn't you send me this deal?" And I was like, "I didn't know you built houses." He goes, "Yeah, every house I flip, out of every house, like every 5 houses I flip, I usually build one." So I realized that day, it hit me over the head. Oh my gosh, the flipper guys, sometimes they want to control the process from the beginning as well. Yeah. So that's how I sell the infill buildable lot. So yeah, definitely totally different analyzing because they've got water and electric close by and they're worth more because the utilities are there. You can literally start building right away.
Are the infill buildable lots typically a lot smaller?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, they're basically lots in a neighborhood or near a main, I mean, they're typically in the public vicinity, right? Like they have like you had mentioned the utilities, sewer,
That's right.
water, electric, maybe gas. That stuff's, if not on the lot already, it's very nearby.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I've made a fortune, buying the last vacant lot in neighborhoods like that. One was like a mobile home park. We ended up, it's funny that the builder that built that whole mobile home park ended up going bankrupt and then he died. But his wife was still getting these tax bills and she was just getting harassed by it. So we opened up the corporation with his wife's help, reopened it up. And she transferred the land. It had a bunch of clouds on the title, all these back, liens from the city. But long story short, we got it all cleared up. And I got that last vacant lot for, I might have had, I don't know, $1,500 wrapped up into the entire deal. I sold it for $35,000 on seller financing with $5,000 down. So I was profitable immediately. And I still get paid to this day for that lot. It's been like 5 years now.
Holy cow. Okay, so here's a question I have. If you are buying something and selling it, you only own it for a short period of time and then it's done, right? But if you buy something and then you seller finance it to somebody, right? And there's two ways that could happen. One is the deed transfers, and then you have your, deed of trust and your promissory note, but they're essentially the owner, right?
Yes,
The other
they are.
option is
Yep.
you do a contract for deed, and you essentially are still the owner, like in terms of the taxes, but they have the controlling interest. So the question is this. I had to kind of build up to that,
Yeah.
right? So the question though is this, is liability. So you said, you know, sometimes in your bread and butter sometimes is like, you know, the acreage that you can camp on or ride the ATVs on or so on and so forth. I would be a little concerned that I, you know, buy 30 acres and then I sell it to somebody else, but I'm still the owner. Maybe I do a contract
Good
for
question.
deed, right? And then they're out there riding their four-wheelers and then somebody gets paralyzed.
Yeah.
Like, does that not keep you up at night?
No, not at all. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you know, we can't think about these things because you create no. No, there's ways to set.
That's a what if, Dave.
You know,
Okay.
guys, it totally is. It totally is. I'm just curious, like, do you have insurance? Let me simplify this question.
Yeah,
Do you
I
have
know where you're going
insurance
with
on every piece of land
No.
that you're still on the ownership side of things on? Like not
No.
a promissory note and a deed of trust, because essentially you could come get it back if you needed to, but it's their property.
Yeah.
For all,
That's
for all
preferred
things
safest.
considered,
Yeah.
right? And that's probably preferred, is to transfer the deed and say, as long as you make payments, this is yours. And whenever it's paid off, I'll sign the release. And if you don't, then I'm going to have to come get it back. That's preferred, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that
but
is
the ones
preferred.
that you do the contract for deed for, are you purchasing insurance?
Yeah. So basically how we get around it, and, you know, at the end of the day, everyone thinks they're going to win in court. So hopefully that happens, like we're covered. So I just put those in a separate LLC, the ones that we hold for long-term, that way, and no commingling of funds. That way it's all kind of
Smart.
protected.
Very
And then
smart.
also an umbrella policy to also cover what's extra as well.
So but do you have individual policies
No.
on? No, just an umbrella policy over it all. Interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow,
Well, it's
okay.
really just over me as personally.
Got it.
So yeah, I mean, that could happen. It really could happen. So the preferred method is the deed of trust and the promissory note. Because if the bank gave me a loan to buy this house, if I jump off the roof and break my neck, I can't go and sue the bank.
Right. But you could sue the owner of the property, though.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why I'm asking here. So again, not something that's that big of a deal.
No, I think it's a great question, though.
But you never know. I mean, especially the reason I came to light is because you had mentioned camping, you had mentioned riding ATVs, and I don't
dangerous stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know if you had mentioned hunting or not, but I'm just kind of wrapping that into camping
Absolutely.
and ATV riding. So you're talking about people walking around your land with guns, shooting stuff, riding four-wheelers. Like, man, that would freak me out.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, you know, you get the legal defense that you can pay for.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, totally.
So, I mean, we can use a couple of examples, but, you know, if I didn't have the land surveyed, how do you know you were on the land you were buying from me via contract for deed? Do you have video of this where there's survey stakes? Like, I mean, that's where I would recommend talking to an attorney. I mean, too bad Johnny Cochran's not still around, but you know.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. I love it. I love it. So you're not paying taxes. You're essentially escrowing that into those people and or just buying and selling these pieces of land. You had mentioned in the beginning, you started out just doing simple postcards. I love it. Everything that you talk about and teach, and you make it very simple, Brent. So I definitely want to take my hat off. I don't have one on here today, but I want to take my hat off to you, man, because you're a very good teacher, man. You like to keep things simple. Oh man, it makes it so much easier to understand and comprehend. So you're not paying taxes. You're collecting the taxes from these individuals, or you're just flipping. You started out doing postcards, and you were doing it to just people that had back taxes.
Yes.
You know, and that seems like one of the best approaches. Bear tax. I love it.
I love it. Man. Good call. I have not thought about the bear attacks. Holy crap. That's a good
You better
point.
change it.
You never know. You never know. So are you still using that tax delinquent list as a great, I mean, it's got to be one of the best ways to find motivated land sellers, right?
So here's the thing about the tax delinquent list. You run out of those properties.
Yeah, real quick, because there's only so many of them. It's only a finite number of them.
Yeah. So I recommend, if you're just starting out and you're bootstrapping like I was, get that tax delinquent list. There's some low hanging fruit on there. But that was a very small list. There was only 687 of those. So once I realized, holy crap, this works, I was using PropStream at that time. So I pulled the entire county land list and then I mailed it all again. And guess what? All those tax delinquent people were on that list
already. Right.
Yeah. So where now, like, I didn't have to purchase the tax delinquent list from the county. Now, a lot of these counties are starting to charge for this. And literally, it's like a scanned PDF that you could barely read, and it gives the schedule number, which is basically the APN, the assessor's parcel number. And you got to like scrub it or pay someone to do it, where it's easier just to go to like PropStream or priced.com and just pull a big list. You might save a few dollars getting it for free from the county. But now at this point, I love to get the tax delinquent land, but that's not the only deals we're doing. Like a lot of people have a misconception is, oh, they got to be tax delinquent. They got to be out of state. No, I've done some pretty big deals where people were not tax delinquent and they were literally in the same city.
Wow. I love that. I love that. That's so crazy. So the answer to that question, the answer is that it doesn't matter necessarily if they're tax delinquent or not. It's probably a great place to start if that's what you're wanting to do.
Exactly.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to find deals. And that's the same thing with me. And I'm sure Gavin too, is obviously the people that are out of state and have back taxes and just recently got divorced. I mean, they're going to be a higher chance that they're going to be a motivated seller, of course, but that doesn't mean that that's what all of the motivated sellers look like. Wow. So true. I love that. Absolutely. How many land deals have you done?
I think we're about 300 plus now. I looked a couple months ago, it was like 289. We bought about 10 or 12 parcels. So yeah, about 300 or so.
Holy cow. That is amazing. And you've been doing this for how long?
I started mid 2016.
Okay.
So not long. I'm still a practitioner.
Yeah, not that long. 5 years, give or take.
Yeah.
Something like that. I'm so bad at math. 5 or 6.
That doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. That's awesome. Just real quick, guys. We have a lot of people watching, which is awesome. So I have 2 things I need you to do. Give us a like and subscribe to wherever you're watching. Make sure you like and subscribe and then share the post. We want to get as many eyes on this as we can. We are live every single week, 12 Eastern, 11 Central, 9 Pacific, every single week. So make sure you join us. So make sure you do them things. We appreciate it. We still have about just over 15 minutes left. So type in your questions. I know VIP's on here. We're going to hit Matt up here shortly with some of his questions. But anyone else got a question, make sure you type it in. And
hey, while we're taking a short break here to do that, Brent, what's the best place for any of the listeners and the viewers to connect with you? I want to drop that in the chat right now, and then we can obviously circle back to that towards the end as well. But you're a coach over on Wholesaling Inc., which is awesome, and one of the hosts of the podcast. And you have an awesome coaching program. And if anybody would be interested to learn more about how they can connect with Brent and learn more about his program, where would they go?
Yeah, thanks so much for asking. I mean, you mentioned it, wholesalinginc.com/land. I actually just started a YouTube channel about 6 months ago now. If you go on YouTube and search Brent Bowers, definitely got to subscribe to it though, but I'm talking all things land.
Nice. So awesome. wholesalinginc.com/land.
You got it.
Man, that's easy. I love that. That's really easy. All right, cool. Guys, I'm going to drop that in the chat here. wholesalinginc.com/land if you want to learn more and or connect with Brent. I love it. All right, Matt's got a question. He says, wow, you kept your word on a handshake, no contract signed. That's amazing. I love that. I don't know if you had put that up there on the screen or not. And I totally agree. That is amazing. He also asked, do you avoid lots with, say, a burned down house on it, or lots, that have junk? What a great question. I'm super curious to hear that.
Not necessarily. If I can get it at a low enough price. I accidentally bought 5 acres one time with about 15 junk cars on it. It was one of those parcels. I was like, yeah, the assessed value is this. The property value is this. I'm buying it for like half of that. So I pulled the trigger. It didn't even look at Google Earth. Didn't go and look at it. Long story short, it's funny.
Man, I've done that once or twice.
Yeah, we sold it to a guy that sold the parts off. He was over the moon excited to know that we had a junkyard for sale. So we played it like junkyard for sale, 5 acres. I do buy houses with I buy land with burnt down houses on it. You just want to make sure that you get like a septic system inspection from a septic company. A lot of times the well cap can be burnt off and then the transformers get burnt. So you just want to make sure you know all the expenses that you're going into with that. But sometimes those can be absolutely lucrative because, you know, the seller might have gotten the insurance payment and like the selling the land is going to be the bonus for them. So no, I don't avoid those.
Yeah. And I think all three of us on this call can agree that the bigger the problem, the bigger the profit typically, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, not always, of course, but like some of the biggest deals that we've done have been massive problems for people, and we provide convenience in exchange for these deep discounts.
Yeah.
So that convenience is nothing more than helping solve a problem.
And
I love it.
If I could say something to Matt, you know, that was the hardest thing I ever did, was to keep my word with that Texan, that Texas gentleman, because I remember I was actually working with Cody Hoffine at the time. He was one of the founders of Wholesaling Inc. I was going through his Rhino Roundtable. I called him and I was like, what do I do? What do I do in this situation? And he's like, Brent, you already know in your heart what's right. So I was surrounded by a good mentor, thank God, that told me like that I already knew the right answer. If I would have had some like shady mentor that's like, nah, screw that, 15,000 more in your pocket, take it. I mean, 15,000 would have changed my life, 15,000 extra in 2016, but really it won't. It would have like probably haunted me. So you're going to have those moments and real estate investing in business, and pray that you choose the right path.
Yeah. What goes around comes around too, you know, like karma's a real thing. So like, yeah, I love it. I think that you did the right thing. And then did he end up splitting that with you?
No. He wanted the land.
He just said, no, I want you to honor it.
No, he said, I want the land. That was his words.
That was his word.
Okay.
Nice.
I remember where I was standing. I was actually in the field. I was still in the Army. I'd been in the field a couple of days. It's because I went right to the field the next week, and I was like taking these offers, like hiding my cell phone, because you're not supposed to have them in the field. You're training. So I remember right where I was standing. He's like, no, I want the land. Like in his like super tough Texan voice.
Let's be honest, you got scared, didn't you?
I got a little scared. Yes, sir.
Man, I love it. So Lori says integrity lets you sleep at night. I agree 100%. What goes around comes around. It's such a true thing. And yeah, honoring your word goes a very long way. I absolutely love that. That's amazing. So Brent, you are still buying land. You're now taking the money that you're earning from your wholesales, your assignments, your passive income from the seller finance side of the land, and you're investing that into apartment complex and commercial buildings. It sounds like way cool. Love it, man. Love it. You can't depreciate the land. You're making decent money. So you're like, how do I offset these taxes? You're finding a way to roll it in. I'm assuming you're using leverage whenever you are buying the apartment buildings and the court and the commercial. Yeah, love it. I mean, why wouldn't you? That's one of the most beautiful things about real estate is that you don't have to have, 10 grand to go buy $10,000 worth of real estate. No, you can do it with 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000. And if you get good at it and you burr it out and refinance it out, you can have none of your money in those deals.
Are you finding your own apartments and things, or are you just buying them? Are you actually hunting them down to buy, or are you just like, I'm just going to invest and buy from wholesalers or whatever?
You see this Rhino back here? This thing is charging. Like he's got 3-inch thick skin. We're in the Rhino trial with Wholesaling Inc. Like we're hunting. We're like the lion out there just hunting for the meat. So all the time, it's always off market deals. Now, granted, there's sometimes realtors will bring us deals. I actually have a banker that just texted me that said, hey, I got a piece of land that's going in foreclosure. Check it out. Like that kind of stuff comes when they find out what you're doing. So yeah, 99.9% of it is off market, except for one of them that I bought in the last 2 years, which was a lake house that we're going to this weekend. That was actually on the market. We paid retail for it. Hurt my heart. Like, I don't like doing that.
I
Me
know,
neither,
yeah.
but I did the same thing
I
this
did.
year.
I just did it last week. I don't know if I told you guys.
All
I just
three
bought
of
a
us
house in.
bought some lake
I
houses.
bought a house. I just bought a house in Phoenix last
Oh,
week.
and another one
man.
in Phoenix too. I love it.
Now
Off the
you're going to just
market.
have to
It
hold that
kills me.
house for 30 years.
Oh yeah, I've already. I mean, it was funny. I ran every scenario, and I made myself feel good that in 30 years it's going to be worth more, whatever the market does. So I'm okay. I'm holding it for a long time, so the equity will come. Yeah, for sure.
Man, that's awesome. Brent, are you marketing like locally? Are you doing regional? Are you going nationwide with it? You know, what's how does that look? And or if you don't mind me asking, what do you typically spend a month on marketing? Is it a couple thousand? Is it a couple hundred? I mean, is it 20 grand? I have no idea. I'm just curious.
Yeah, if we're just talking about land, so to back up, I started within my, local market, which was Colorado Springs, El Paso County, Colorado. Then we moved to El Paso County and Pueblo County, and then we started mailing Costa County. So really, we're just kind of expanding in Colorado to several areas. And then it's funny.
Do you live in Colorado now? I should know this, but I don't.
No, I don't. I actually just moved out of Colorado in July. So I no longer live in Colorado. We're in Florida now, which I take that back. I actually bought 2 houses off the MLS. The one we're living in now, when your wife's involved in a house purchase, like you don't get to get the.
You don't get to.
I've had
hold out
2.
for the-
I've
for
had
the
2 as well.
discount.
My Savannah house and this. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Same guys.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. So we also started buying in Florida because my dad was in Florida before I was. He's still here now. So I got him spun up, and then we started buying in his area. And then it's funny, I did all these land deals, and I was like, I'm gonna hire a coach because there's something I'm missing. Like, I want to hire someone that's where I want to be. Like, because my goal was to be at 100 grand a month coming in for land payments. So I hired a guy. Long story short, like, he got this huge package of land in Arizona. So I bought 117 parcels from him in Arizona. And then it just started expanding. Then we started mailing inherited land all over the country just recently. So yeah, we're in like 8 states now.
Dude, that's awesome.
There was
That's
never a
awesome.
plan for that. It just happened.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, there's you don't need to go see every piece of land personally, right? For 100 or 150 bucks on Craigslist or Facebook. And I know there's a couple websites out there. Go see or go look or something like that. Where you can, where you can send people out and have them take pictures, and if you can, do a little homework before they go and just say, hey, here's the parcel. I need to get a couple different angles of it. Or if it's a house, I want to see the front, the back, the sides, the inside, the basement, so on and so forth. But I mean, with the leverage of technology and social media, I don't think that it would matter if that parcel is 30-minute drive or 30 states away.
No, it doesn't matter at all. One thing we started doing, like, we just bought some in Connecticut and Pennsylvania. We go on Redfin. If Redfin's not in that area, we go on Zillow, and we look at the land that's sold in the last 3 months, and we copy the listing agent, paste it on a Word doc, copy the buyer's agent or the bought by agent, basically the person that brought the buyer, and we just keep copying and pasting them on a Word doc until we have all of them. And if we see that agent that comes up more than any other agent for land, we know that's the land.
That's the land agent. Because there's always usually 1 or 2, at least. I was driving to my lake house just 3 or 4 days ago, and I see this big billboard, and it's an agent, and he's like, I help people buy and sell land. Like, that's his specialty. So you just got to find those people that specialize in it in each of these areas, and then leverage their buyers to help you get these things sold.
Yeah, and they're free. And you tell them you want to do seller financing, like, they're just amazing. And most land agents, they think out of the box, really, because there's no box that
there's really no box, right?
There's no house.
So how many of them at this point do you have? And this is or I guess a 2-part question. How many do you have that you've seller financed that hadn't been closed out? They're still open and you're receiving payments on?
114 of them right now.
And how many of those, part 2, are paid off on your end?
Oh no, those are actively paying right now. We've had a lot
Well,
pay
no.
off.
I'm saying like you don't have any
You don't
debt
have
on.
anything.
Yeah,
You
maybe
don't
I
have
worded
anything.
that wrong. You have 114 people paying, but some of those I would think like you were able to get the $5,000 down, and that's what you paid, and you sold it for 15 or 20, and they're paying that off over 5 years or 3 years or 8 years or whatever, right?
Yep.
So what
Three of them
percentage?
have debt on them through like a private lender.
Sure.
And I'll tell you exactly what I'm paying. I'm paying 9% to
That's
that.
a great
that
rate.
private lender,
It's a great
which
rate.
you can find better, which is really cool. Let me just throw this out there for anybody listening. It's like, oh my God, I don't have money. There's so much money out
It's
there.
everywhere.
Like, for instance, mother-in-law will lend me money at 6%. So I'm going to buy a piece of land for $15,000 at 6% using mother-in-law's money. She's going to get a deed of trust and a promissory note through the title company, so she's protected. Well, the land's worth $45,000 because I'm buying it at 1/3, and I'm going to sell it to David Dodge for $45,000 at 9% interest. So there's an arbitrage. So I'm only paying 6% interest on $15,000, and I'm making 9% interest on $45,000. So I can do that.
That's the coolest part. That's the coolest part. So I would imagine though that some of these 114, you don't have a private lender or like it's like
correct.
basically you.
So how many are free and clear to you?
Yeah, free and clear to you, right?
Yeah.
There's probably a couple in there that are like that, I would think,
Oh,
right?
Yeah. So I would say about 1/3 of those.
See,
So
that's where I was going, man. That's crazy. That's so awesome.
So 114 actively are paying me right now. I've got debt on 3 of them. So call that a 111 are paid for free and clear.
111 of them. That's 98%.
1/3 of those 111. So call that, I don't know, 40 of those properties, 40 properties. I actually went in partnership with a gentleman in the very beginning when I was doing this. He pulled his money out of his self-directed IRA, real estate broker, land specialist agent. And I would say, what do you think, Alan? Do we buy it? And he would say, yep, write a check. So I actually didn't even take any of my own money, and he gets 30% of the profit after expenses.
Man, you got it all figured out, Brent. That is awesome.
That is working out, and it's been a great relationship. He's actually doing land on his own now, which is really cool. Got him spun up. So he was really kind of one of my first students, but not really. We were like partners with it, and we learned together.
Man, that is so cool. That is so cool. I love it. Guys, don't forget, learn more about Brent Bowers and his land coaching program and mentorship program, Land Sharks. You can find it at wholesalinginc.com/land. Go check that out. Gavin's got it up on the screen here. I love it. I do want to respect Brent's time today, so we have about 2 more minutes. If anybody has anything, now's the time to ask. Brent, thanks again for coming on. Gavin, you got anything for Brent?
No, I think it's been great. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
Brent.
what an awesome guest, man. You have provided so much value. You'd like to keep it simple, which helps me and Gavin and the rest of the audience and listeners and viewers, focused and oh man, amazing. Very, very cool, Brent. Really, really, really appreciate your time. Do you have any parting words for the audience that may be interested in learning how to do some land?
No, I love it. It's always a pleasure, Gavin, David. And honestly, it is simple. I couldn't complicate it if I tried because I'm not a complicated person. Hence why I was probably attracted to land in the first place.
Love it. I love it. So Matt says, last question here. Would we need coaching if we understand wholesale and creative finance? And really the answer is it's coaching is always it's always a speed thing, right? Yeah. So could you go learn this? Of course you can. Come on, Matt, you're on every one of these. We know that, right? But if you want to shorten that curve from 6 months or 8 months or 10 months down to 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 10 weeks, then a coach is going to help you. They're going to get you there faster. Love it. Well, Brent, thanks again for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. Guys, go to wholesalinginc.com/land to learn more. And with that, we're signing off, gentlemen.